Hello and welcome everybody. I am Dr. Asabri Sawant, Senior Sub-Editor at Elets Technomedia, India's leading and largest B2B multimedia platform. And on behalf of Elets Technomedia and the Banking and Finance Post magazine, I extend a very warm welcome to all of you to the Elets Fintech Dialogues. It is an exclusive series which is an integral part of the World Fintech Summit and two-day premier event by Elets Technomedia that brings together the global finance and BFSI community, from policymakers, industry leaders to innovators and key stakeholders to tech enthusiasts. The summit fosters meaningful conversations aimed towards driving the innovation and growth in financial services worldwide. We are honored to have the support of Department of Electronics, IT, Biotechnology and Science and Technology, Government of Karnataka as our host state partner, alongside Karnataka Digital Economy Mission as our strategic partner for the World Fintech Summit. The Elets Fintech Dialogues, this series celebrates trailblazing leaders and innovators whose fintech-driven initiatives are transforming lives and industries. And today we are privileged to have another inspiring entrepreneur who has been instrumental in revolutionizing the BFSI industry in India. It is an absolute pleasure to welcome Mr. Sameer Mathur, founder and MD for ROINet Solution Pvt Ltd. Sir, thank you so much for joining us. It is a pleasure to have you on the show.
Thank you, Asabri.
Great. So for our audience, Mr. Sameer Mathur is the founder and the managing director of ROINet Solutions, a purpose-driven technology company focused on delivering essential financial and non-financial services to the underserved communities across India. Since founding the company 8 years ago, Sameer has been committed to creating impactful, sustainable solutions that are aimed at addressing the challenges faced by the rural and marginalized populations. With economics honors degree from St. Xavier's College, Kolkata, and MBA from SP Jain Institute of Management and Research, Sameer further enhanced his leadership expertise with a renowned MBA program at the MIT Sloan School of Management. This strong academic foundation has equipped him with global business leadership and strategy skills, which he later applied to his entrepreneurial journey. Before founding ROINet, Sameer built a successful corporate career, holding senior leadership positions at Modi Xerox and Hewlett Packard as country director at HP. He played a key role in driving the channel businesses to USD 2 billion, gaining valuable experience in strategy, channel development, and P&L management. Sameer is known for his collaborative leadership style, which fostered a culture of teamwork, innovation, and continuous learning at ROINet. So thank you so much, sir, for joining us. It is an absolute honor to have you with us today. Let us dive deep into the questions that we have for you. One, we are very curious to know that as ROINet was founded with a very strong social mission, what inspired you to transition from a high-profile corporate job to launching a fintech venture that is focused on underserved communities? Over to you.
Yeah, this was way back in 2009, around that particular time frame. I was working in Hewlett Packard. I was handling their overall business more for the printer and the PC business in India. And I decided to take a sabbatical and go to the US to do a full-time MBA program from MIT. And it is there that a couple of my friends who were working on an academic project, which was basically focused on addressing the issue of financial inclusion, especially for the African markets and some of the developing countries. And India was one of them. So it started off more like an academic project, and we spent a bit of time going through the issues at hand and what countries can do to solve the problem. And interestingly, what we realized is that when we look at the concept of developing in developed countries, the developing countries, a big challenge they had is that there are a very large percentage of people who are living on very, very low incomes. And one of the reasons why they were on low incomes was because they had been financially excluded, which means essentially they didn't have access to banks, they didn't have access to ATMs, they didn't have access to low-cost capital. Most of the people there were underinsured or uninsured. And the thinking there, one of the learnings we had in that particular project was that if any country has to grow fast and move from developing to developed, it has to carry this large mass of people with them and ensure that their lives are taken care of, their lives are improved. So that spark of trying to be a part of the mission is where, is when I was working there, I said, the thought used to cross my mind, that is there somewhere I can be a part of the solution side of things? Can I play a role in trying to solve this problem? And so what started from a project, I still remember when I was last year, I was going and the other two colleagues of mine met me at a coffee bar, and they said, hey, listen, why don't we see if we can convert this academic idea into a business idea? I said, you know what, I've never done business in my life. I'm a pure corporate guy. I get my salary check at the end of the month, and that's what I do all. So they said, okay, we'll figure out a way to get the funding. And I came back to India, spoke to some very senior people in the government, in the banking sector, in the Reserve Bank of India, and everybody said that India is opening up to a very interesting model where private players can play a role in building up and being a part of the financial inclusion drive. And so I said, okay, from an opportunity point of view, there's a possibility of us coming in with a business model. What we needed was capital. And of course, being in US, the advantage is US, people do fund you on ideas. So one of my colleagues got connected with an investor, and before you know, we got the first check signed. And I think 2012, early 2012 is when we kind of jumped into trying to do something of our own. And interestingly, before I jumped in, I started talking to some senior bankers in the State Bank of India, and they said, listen, if you come and we'll give you a first license because you guys come with some credits. So that's how the whole thing started. 2012 early, we got into it, we got the funds in, and we jumped into this world of financial inclusion and financial services. And yeah, we haven't looked back since then. I think it's been a very interesting journey. And while a lot has been done, I think a lot more needs to be done. I'm excited to be part of this entire transition process.
Thank you so much for sharing, sir. We are so glad that ROINet is working into this space because it is a much needed area that needs attention. At the same time, as you shared that there are a lot of challenges around financial inclusion that are still there in India and were there when you started. Can you please talk a little more about that? What kind of challenges, and if you can feel that there are still some things that hasn't been tackled yet, and so that it gives a good point for our listeners as an area to work towards.
Yeah. So one of the things which we used to deeply understand is that trying to understand was that India has a population of 140 crore people, almost 70 to 80 crore people, 85 crore people stay in smaller towns, and a lot of them are financially excluded. And the question we used to ask is, why are they financially excluded? You have so many banks, public sector banks, regional rural banks, cooperative banks. Why is it that they're not able to solve this problem? And as we traveled, we realized that the big challenge which large financial institutions have is that the cost of setting up bank branches, especially in smaller towns, smaller cities and villages, is very expensive. And for them, the viability of having a bank branch in these places is there's no viability at all. So they would open up bank branches in smaller towns and cities, and they will not get viability. They have to close down. So this model which RBI came out with, which is basically the model where private players could partner with banks, was a potential solution around it. But to give you a broad perspective, if you look at India today, it has 6.5 lakh villages. Only about 10 to 15% are covered by the standard formal banking institutions like State Bank of India, etc. They are bank branches, and ATMs only cover about 15 to 20% total population. The balance 80% is where the gap lies, and that's where private players like us have the last decade or so tried to do our bit to see we can create infrastructure in these smaller towns and villages in a low-cost manner, so that the consumers can start getting included in the part of the financial journey. And the model which we worked out is very simple. We partner with banks, we partner with large banks, and we basically create low-cost banking centers. So typically, you could visualize, you go to a small city or a small town, and you've got it could be a typical kirana store, it could be a pharmaceutical store, or a telecom store. That gets enabled with some basic hardware, or let's say mobile applications, he gets enabled. And typically, he gets converted into a mini bank branch. So a consumer, let's assume, walking into the store is a consumer of State Bank of India, can now walk into the store and transact and withdraw, deposit, and do whatever payment transactions. And all his data is being, at the same time, simultaneously being kind of changed at the banking center. So basically, it's an extension of the main bank branch. So this particular model which the government has come out with, I think it's been a very successful model. Today, if you look at it at a broad level, almost about 35 crore Indians have got what they call it Janata accounts. It has a few lakh crores of deposits. Almost I think around the 35 crores, almost about 30-40% of them are transacting. So a lot has happened, a lot has changed. A lot of people are now getting a part of the financial inclusion, right? But the way I see it is that the payment piece is the starting point, is a building block, the starting point of moving on the financial inclusion journey. One of the big areas which these people need help is around access to capital, working capital. Because at the end of the day, unless a person has access to capital, he cannot start a business, he cannot really do things to improve his quality of life. And that is still a big problem because the banking institutions today, which are the largest so-called providers of capital, still look at a digital history before giving a loan. So typically, unless you got a civil score, unless you've done some transactions with your credit cards, and, they don't have a digital history. And therefore, to that extent, they cannot figure out whether you are somebody who is creditworthy or not. And therefore, this person, I'm talking about crores of people, today have to then rely on money lenders and those kind of people for their working capital needs. And there, the credit percentages run into hundreds of percent in a year. And that's a big problem. It is really a big problem because, I always keep on saying that the dichotomy, the problem we look at from a global perspective is that for the same product and services, a poor man today is charged more, significantly more than what a affluent person is charged. So typically, let's assume if I'm a person who walks into a bank branch, I could get a personal loan at about 12, 30, 40%. The same person who is relatively on the lower side in terms of income and needs more help today is charged maybe 25 or 30%. So to bridge that gap to me is one of the big areas which everybody has to work towards. Whether it's the government, whether it's private players like us. How do we get capital to good people, to the people with the right conscience, with the right set of working ethics, and help them create small businesses which can help them create their lives going forward. And it's very interesting in our journey. We have started this movement called Safalta, where we said that let's see if you can make a difference in the life of people. And today, like I said, we've got about 70,000 such points nationally, banking points nationally, and a lot of these people are first timers, so they've come into the business for the first time, and their lives have got transformed. Recently we came out with a video of a couple of our partners, Ramakant Dubey and Uday Prakash. Ramakant was an unemployed person, didn't know what to do, didn't get a job, partnered with us, built up their own CSP point, and today he's been working with us for the last 2 years, built up incomes, he's got a home for himself, he's living a good financial life. So like this, we feel that in our own small way, we are able to impact lives of a lot of people. But I just feel that this has to be done at a much larger scale. And if all of us can do that, financial institutions, private players like us, I think India is going to be a power to reckon with. India is going to be so powerful that I don't think the world will find it very difficult facing a country like ours because we have the talent, we've got the working ethics, we've got the value systems, we've got the entrepreneurial energy. We just need a few enablers where all of us will come together. We can make a huge difference to society and lives going forward.
Thank you so much, sir, for sharing. It was very empowering listening to you and also very insightful at the same time. So before we dive more into ROINet and technology aspects, we are very curious to know more that your initiatives and your efforts are not just impacting lives; they're also making India more financially literate in some sense. We are very intrigued to know around while you were on your journey with ROINet all through these years, what were the major challenges that you came across, from a business standpoint, from an entrepreneurial standpoint, and if you could share those, and also how you overcame, or what helped you overcome. So if you can share on that.
Yeah, I think the big challenge which all of us have is the fact that the problem we're trying to solve is a pretty large problem, in the sense that, if you were to create a business model and say, we're going to make lives of a particular village better, you're not moving the needle forward. And I think one of the points which we always discuss and debate is that how do we maintain and create a model which is sustainable, which is profitable, because you still want to create a profitable model and get to meet social objectives. And a lot of time people think that, hey, if you're making profits, then you're going to be not very socially impactful, and vice versa. So for us, maintaining that balance, that, hey, listen, we're still running an enterprise. We cannot say that we're going to serve society and we're going to be loss making with that help. And one of the key learnings we had when we try to make that balance is that we can do this if we ensure that the profit margin per transaction is kept low, but we do it in a very mass scale. So cumulatively, therefore, if you multiply a small profit margin by a large number of customers, it becomes a very exciting model. So today, if you look at it, we are present across the country. Half the pin codes, we have close to 70,000 partners. We serve close to about 4 crore customers. And therefore, to that extent, since we're doing everything at a large scale, our model becomes sustainable, and at the same time, we're able to impact life of so many people. So the challenge in the initial years was obviously getting to that scale. That was one. And also how to create a model where basically you're able to build trust. Because the biggest thing when you're going to a small city or small town is that while they would trust a State Bank of India or an LIC, so these large banks, they don't know you as an entity, right? And they always kind of initially see you with a sense of, listen, what if you take our money away? And what if something more happens? Building up that trust in the initial set of the journey we had was very difficult. It was very, very difficult. But anyway, that was a part of some of the issues we had to go through. But I would say building our trust, building our trustworthy team, creating a technology, I think that's a very critical piece. I always keep on saying that if you want to be in this space, you need to have a very good technology. And for me, technology, I define it from a consumer perspective in a very simple way. Technology has to be easy to use. Do not create complicated technologies, right? Create technology where the customer finds it easy. 1, 2, 3 steps, then it's done. You cannot ask him to go through some 25 steps to do a transaction. Create a technology that's easy for him to understand. A lot of times, we as urban-centric entrepreneurs believe that the world speaks in English, the world speaks in Hindi. If you're based out of Delhi, for example. What we don't realize is that India is, different Indias. There are different Indias in India. So a person in Tamil Nadu will not resonate if you're writing and communicating with him in Hindi. Similarly, a person in Karnataka will not resonate if you're speaking in Hindi. So our technology also today, we said, let's make it multilingual. So it allows for what I call as connect as far as communication is concerned. Our technology today is both on the website, web-based and app-based. App was very important because as we kept on going deeper, we realized that people did not have money even to afford a laptop or a desktop. So then today, everybody has a smartphone. So we said creating an application becomes very important. And that's one investment we made a few years ago. Now, almost 50% of our partners use applications. So I would say ease of use of technology. I would say things like multilingual would be the second piece. And then, of course, making sure that everything is very transparent and easy to use. I would say those are some of the things we've worked on the technology side. In terms of challenges, I would say getting to scale, building up the trust with the people, building up the trust with the financial institutions. We're dealing with large banks like Bank of Baroda, State Bank of India, building trust with their system. I think those are some of the challenges you really kind of deal with in the initial years. And later on, like I said, the same challenges become your strength. So today, the fact that you work very hard and try to make sure your business is ethical and strict is what something you can capitalize on going forward.
Definitely, sir. Very rightly said. And our next question is along the same lines as you shared technology and challenges, etc. So, as you rightly shared, that technology has to be easy to use. It should be easy so that it is there in place when people need it. So making an easy to use technology at the same time ensuring data protection, data security, etc. as well in the financial services. Um, how to balance both of these and what is the thin line that bifurcates? What are your thoughts on the same?
See, I think obviously they're two separate pieces. I don't think you need to create very different systems to make your technology safe and secure. You can still be safe and secure as well as you can create a technology which is easy to use. But I think the concept of easy to use to me is an iterative process. The way it works is that as long as you believe that your tech team and your marketing team are working collaboratively and there's constant feedback coming in from customers and partners on how your technology is working improve, and you're doing constant changes on your product and technology. That's where that the beautiful line comes in, because when you're making a technology from a tech perspective, you're always looking at your company outside. So you look at what is right for your tech platform, and then you build up a product. But if you start staying connected with the customer and the partner, you always end up getting feedback and you make improvement. So on the current tech platform, the last 8 years, I think we have done maybe 4, 5, 6,000 iterations to our platform to make it simple, basis customer feedback. And to your question about security, I think security is obviously very, very important to us. One good thing is that on the security side, the tech platform or the core platform is developed with us, but since it also connects to the bank also comes with the best practices to ensure that they can keep the customer safe, the partner safe. So you might say the joint collaboration between the banks, us, NPCI, and RBI. So everybody is constantly looking at making the platform more secure, making the platform more robust, ensure that the customer interest is protected. And that helps us because obviously banks come with a lot more experience, come with a lot of good people around them who create good technology. So we also learn from these guys.
Thank you so much, sir. So, as you have wide experience with the bigger corporate organizations as well as startup, how has your leadership style evolved through these years, and how do you foster a culture of innovation and agility within ROINet? We're very curious to know. Also, this would be very helpful to our budding entrepreneurs who are looking up to you for your advice and thoughts. Yes.
Yeah. So obviously, working in a corporate world, I think your mindset, the way you work, your leadership style is at times a little different from what you need to do when you are an entrepreneur. In a corporate world, everything is very structured. Your processes are structured, your teams are structured. You're obviously working with very good people because big corporates can afford to attract good talent. So you're dealing with best in class people, which is obviously good. But I guess the flip side, I would say flip side, it's a very personal thing, but I think the area where at times the corporate world tends to make you question things is that it's way too structured, and it doesn't allow for that sense of creativity and innovation. Like for example, if I were to make some changes to the product, I'll have to go through some 40 iterations and go to the US team and they will come back with some lengthy explanations of why it can be done and why it can't be done. And frankly speaking, some of those pieces what were bothering me when I was on the corporate side. It's way too structured. It's not getting I don't get in the morning. I don't feel that I want to get into the office because I just felt everything is so organized and left very little room for innovation and creativity. So as I got to the world of startup, I realized the world is very different. You've got to be very flexible. Like they say, right from making your presentation for the bank, right to getting your coffee made. You have to do everything on your own. So your egos have to be really kept aside. You have to be somebody who's very devoted as a leader. You have to be somebody who's very connected to people. You have to be somebody who's always communicating to people. You have to be accessible. You cannot be inaccessible. That's the other piece. And the other thing is, which I realized when you're doing a startup or entrepreneurship, is that two things are very critical. Number one is the core team you formulate, right? Make sure that they are part of the wealth creation process, which means that everybody lives on a vision. That end of the day, we create this great company and those kind of things. But if you say that at the end of the day, most of the wealth will be captured by you, then the guys are not connected. So you have to share your wealth, which means what they say on the cap structure. You got to ensure that you're sharing your wealth. You must be more generous. You must be more large-hearted. You cannot be somebody who's only thinking about himself. You've got to have the ability to say, I have to share the wealth or the value capture with the team. That's very important. Only then will you create a committed team. Only then will you create a team which is willing to put in the long hours and able to go through the ups and downs of the start. That's point number one. Point number two, very important, is that the concept of a startup is that you're faced with uncertainty all the time. Right? You don't have enough data, but you have to take decisions. And the thing is, a lot of times in startups, you will fail. Failure is something which is an integral part of any startup because you don't know the journey. And as I say, there are 5 doors you have to knock before you get to the right door, but you don't know which is the right door. So you have to knock on all the 5 doors, right? Somebody might say it's a failure, but I call it as a very honest attempt to try to find the right solution. So as an entrepreneur or a leader, you have to ensure that when people take risks and they fail, you do not look down upon that initiative. As a matter of fact, you should celebrate your failures. You should tell your people, hey, you know what? You tried the right way. It doesn't matter if you get results. At least you've told us which path doesn't work. Now we know we don't have to go on this path. We have to go on path number 2. And you got to thank people. Hey, listen, thank you very much for trying what you did. It didn't work. Doesn't matter. It just helps us understand where we can do things better. So I think the concept of ensuring that as a leader that your perspective towards failure is different. You allow people to take risks. I think it's very important if you want to start. It's a very, very critical element of it. I could just go on and on in terms of learnings, but I would say these are the 2 things I would say are very critical.
No, so it's very valuable advice that you've shared, and I'm absolutely loving to hear all the aspects that you have to share with us today. So I'm sure the audience is also still with us, very intrigued. Moving on to the last question around ROINet and the business. We have seen many businesses that start up with good social motive, but while scaling and while expanding, somehow they lose that aspect in their focuses. So what strategies has helped you to scale sustainably while also maintaining your social impact focus? And we're very curious to know your thoughts.
Yeah, I think the 2 pieces which I already talk about sustainability is that I see at the end of the day, obviously, any startup, any company you form, your first objective is ensure that it's viable, it's profitable, and if you're funded, then return on that capital becomes your first priority. That's most important priority. But I always keep on telling people is that never change your focus on the vision of the company. Never change your focus on the vision. If you continue staying focused on the vision of the company, money will follow. Don't chase money, chase the vision. Money will follow. Rather than saying I want to make X crores this year and I want to make Y crores this month, and I don't really care about what's happening to my customers. That will be a very short-term approach. And I see a lot of times companies doing it. And I don't think in the mid to long term it gives you great results. Focus on creating a great company. Focus on ensuring that you are actually genuinely making a difference in the lives of people. And you're doing the right things for your employees, you're doing the right things for your partners, for your customers. Money will follow. Money will follow anything which is good in life. As simple as that. If you create happy customers, money will follow. So I think that's one thing we've maintained as the ethos of the company, that we will focus on the end customer. And of course, we have profit goals, but that is something which is going to be a subsidiary thing and not a main thing. Number 1. Number 2, I think it's very important in the journey also to, when you're creating our co-founders and people, is to have people of the shared vision. So for me, whenever I'm having a discussion with anybody who could be part of the team, I always test him for his orientation in terms of, is he really committed towards solving the lives of people, or is he just in the game for money? If you're in the game for just money, then to me it's like a disconnect. Also, the other piece which is very critical is, who are your board members? Who are the people who are coming in? So we've got a set of people who come from Singapore, and they are as much aligned with the social vision as we are. And our discussions are a lot about how many people's lives have been impacted, and it's all about making the world a better place with what we're trying to do. And obviously, there is a discussion on the commerce side too. So I would say forming the right team, staying true to your goals, and not wavering around it, not looking at a business from a short-term perspective. to me would be some key elements to look at while building up a business, especially in this space, where it takes a bit of time to build up a business, but if you do it well, you might say there is a good bright future going forward.
Thank you so much. And the last question before we finally let you go is, this tradition that we ask to all our leaders who come on this platform. One piece of information that you can share exclusively for our audience, something that you're planning towards at ROINet, or something that you've been working towards in some time and is up in the market soon, that hasn't been shared on any other platform yet, exclusively for Elets Fintech Dialogue.
Yeah, so like I mentioned, our vision has always been to look at improving the lives of people, right, as far as the financial services side is concerned. While right now, till now, we were purely on the payment side, which is basically allowing people to do banking transactions. But 3-4 years, we took a decision to ensure that we can move just payments to a complete financial solution. So we build up now our solutions for launching mutual funds, where consumers can buy mutual fund as low as 250 rupees, many sachet mutual funds. We're launching our own stockbroking platform, again designed for consumers who are first time getting in the equity markets. We're launching our own broking company. As a matter of fact, the next 1 or 2 months, we'll be rolling off our insurance product services. And then we've got a slew of other so-called financial services. We're looking at lending, we're looking at credit cards. And the idea is very simple. Like when we look at our company 3 years, 5 years from now, we simplify what's the kind of impact we had. Our vision is that, hey, listen, we would like 70 crore Indians, at least, if not, maybe 70-80% of these people to have access to our platforms, and basically, influence every part of their financial lives, whether it's in terms of insurance, whether it's in terms of allowing them to have an option of growing the money in terms of mutual funds, whether it's in getting access to working capital. So anything related to financial services, anything, and I'm just saying anything, and obviously, even if the smallest parts of the country, the smallest village in this country, we will have presence there. That's our vision. And we want to ensure that we can play our own small bit in terms of being aligned to the government's vision of making it, India being part of by 2047. And we want to do it through action. We don't want to do it through words. We want to do it through action. We want to move the needle. We have one life. And like they say that, we have 2 options. Either we can critique problems in life and say, government has not done this and government has not done that. Or we can say, no, we're going to be part of the solution. When we are there, 30 years from now, whatever stage of life we are in, we should be happy that before we moved on, we've moved the needle, we've done a bit in terms of making the world a better place to live. I think you're on mute.
Yes, thank you so much for sharing. We are very excited to see ROINet be the one-stop shop for everything financial services very soon. So thank you so much for sharing all your thoughts and insights. We come down to the end of a very insightful discussion. We had Mr. Sameer Mathur, founder and MD of ROINet Solutions Pvt Ltd. Thank you so much, sir. With that, I would also like to thank our audience for staying with us till the very end. If you have any questions for ROINet or Mr. Sameer, please leave them in the comments down below. We will make sure to give back you your answers. Also, if you have any recommendations for any other leaders or organizations you would like to see on our platform, leave those suggestions also in the comments below. We will make sure to have them for our next episode. With that, we sign off now. Stay updated with the latest financial technologies with us.